Bloody hell. I'll actually turn my mic on this time, eh? 2 weeks away and I've forgotten how this f***ing video stuff works. Anyway, hello you lovely bloody lot you, hope you're doing well. Sorry about the 2-week gap since the last episode. It's not that I couldn't be arsed, not entirely anyway. I've just been buggering about doing family shit with it being half terminal. In fact, this time last week I had a wonderful day out at King's Cross Station, which Storm Babette had unexpectedly turned into a giant escape room style scenario. And if you somehow actually managed to decipher the cryptic Tannoy announcements and solve the riddles of the Trixie departure board, then you'd realise you had about as much chance of getting on a train as James Corden has of winning a least annoying competition. And I'm sorry to say it took me about 4 overpriced Costa cappuccinos before I finally cracked the code and slumped off back home. Anyway, on this week's show we'll have a bloody good look at that fancy new Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chipset that'll be wedged inside some of the biggest and best Android blows of the coming year, including the Xiaomi 14 series, which is actually already bloody launched just a couple of days later. And then as always we'll empty out that big bulging sack of viewer comments which has been growing pretty plump over the past fortnight. Jingle me maestro. Techspert Weekly. So this week, Qualcomm kicked off its massive Snapdragon Summit over in Hawaii. And while regrettably I couldn't be there this year to commit horrible fashion crimes and basically drink the entire island dry, I have been getting in the spirit by sitting underneath my brightest studio light in my pants and drinking pints of Malibu out of one of them tiki cups. The big reveal of the summit was naturally the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. And just in case you missed all of those hot chipset headlines this week, well, here's 10 incredibly fun Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 facts in just 1 minute. Go! 1. It's a 4nm chipset just like the 8 Gen 2. Dinky. 2. That Cryo CPU is 30% faster and 20% more efficient than the previous gen. Hooray! 3. The Cognitive ISP supports funky new AI camera features, including the ability to remove unwanted people from videos. Finally, we can erase Uncle Kevin from all of those Wedding Home movies he spoiled by pulling out his todger for his infamous impression of a 3-legged giraffe. 4. The 8 Gen 3 supports gaming at up to 240 frames per second with variable refresh rates. Smooth. 5. Apparently ray tracing is now 40% better. Oof. 6. Jesus, I'm only halfway through this f***ing list. Hang on. Now here's one. The 8 Gen 3 boasts the world's fastest stable diffusion, so images can be generated by AI shindiggery in a fraction of a second. Whoop. Okay, look, when I said 10 incredibly fun Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 facts, I may have oversold these facts a wee bit. I mean, some people would probably find these facts fun. Nerds mostly. Anyway, bollocks to the lot of you, no one forced you to watch this video. And that sound right there means that our minute is up, so let's forget this ever happened and just get on with our day. Now Qualcomm also announced at the Snapdragon Summit that we can expect the very first Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 handsets to start landing in the coming weeks. Not months, weeks. So just when you think, that's all the big tech launches done for the year and now I can start smashing through my whiskey reserves from now until Santa squeezes his enormous arse down the chimney. Nope. And lots of brands have already committed to using the 8 Gen 3 in their upcoming flagship phones. So for instance, the likes of Asus for its new ROG phones, Red Magic for their next generation of gaming blowers, you've got the likes of OnePlus, Oppo, Vivo, Realme, Sony, no real surprises in there. But it's Xiaomi that's first past the post, wasting absolutely no bloody time at all with its fresh new Xiaomi 14 phones, which launched just yesterday out in China. Literally 2 days after Qualcomm first announced the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, so that's pretty bloody swift work. And also, not to mention, 1 short month after the European launch of the Xiaomi 13T series, which I only just reviewed. The vanilla Xiaomi 14 is a pleasingly dinky 6.36-incher, while the Pro model boosts that size to a hand-troubling 6.73 inches. Both phones boast a nearly flat display with just a wee bit of curvature on all sides of the Pro, apparently giving the impression that everything is hovering just above that screen, an effect that'll be further compounded by the number of tequila slammers you've seen away. And the 14 Pro's panel is protected by Xiaomi's new ceramic glass, which is apparently quite tough when it comes to unexpected tumbles, and can also resist scratches the same way that most northerners resist salads. Slip a few extra bills into Xiaomi's metaphorical G-string and you can have yourself a special titanium edition of the Xiaomi 14 Pro, which also adds that ceramic glass to the arse end. While all of these spangly new blows are also IP68 water and dust resistant. Nice. Now those displays seem to be a proper highlight on both of the Xiaomi 14 phones, reaching a Retina Seren 3000 nits, as well as boasting a variable refresh ranging from 1 to 120 Hz. That Pro version doesn't just boost the size, it also bumps up the resolution from an already crispy 460 pixels per inch to a supremely sharp 522 ppi. And the Xiaomi 14 Pro also packs in a slightly bigger battery with 120 watt wired charging versus the 90 watt wired charging of the regular phone. So both of these handsets will be fully juiced in like 20 minutes, and you've also got 50 watt wireless charging on the Xiaomi 14 and the 14 Pro. But of course, as always, it's Xiaomi's camera tech that usually evokes a proper trouser tent, and the Xiaomi 14s should have you well past half-mast with their clever Leica-branded optics. That means Summilux shooter uses a 50 meg Light Fusion 900 sensor with optical image stabilization naturally, and apparently it's hot when it comes to HDR snapping. If you upgrade to the Pro, you'll even get a variable aperture lens that you can open and close to suit the light and get some gorgeous bokeh action. Both the Xiaomi 14 and the 14 Pro also offer a 50 meg floating telephoto lens with optical image stabilization, plus a final 50 meg ultra-wide angle snapper, and both of those use Samsung's GN1 sensor. And using my impressive abilities to read Xiaomi's online blog, I can see that the specs are rounded off by a bit of USB 3.2 action, delivering data transfer speeds up to 5 gigabits per second on the regular Xiaomi 14, and that's boosted it up to 10 gigabits per second on the Pro model. Woof! Be still my giddy heart. You've also got yourself a pair of stereo speakers with full Dolby Atmos support and between 256 gigs and a full terabyte of storage. That's with both the Xiaomi 14 and the 14 Pro. But naturally you can expect the memory and the storage and everything to be completely switched about when it comes to the global models of these phones, which should hopefully be launched in the next month or two. Oh, and we didn't just get a squint of some new smartphones at Xiaomi's launch. We also caught our first proper glimpse of HyperOS, the launcher that is finally replacing the long-standing MIUI while also looking remarkably f***ing similar to it. So far it kind of feels like editing a movie to remove Nick Nolte and then replacing him with Gary Busey. Like I'm guessing most people probably wouldn't even notice. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see just how many Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 smartphones launch before the end of 2023, and by interesting I mean absolutely bloody knackering. But hey, it's alright, I can drink whiskey and review a never-ending bukkake onslaught of smartphones at the same time. I'm a motherfucking professional. Oh, and also slightly worryingly, there was of course no mention of Samsung in that list of manufacturers who are going to be using the 8 Gen 3. So guys, if you're listening, pretty please with a shagload of sugar heaped on top, can you not do us with an Exynos chipset in the S24s? Thank you. Anyway, that's all the time we have this week for highly arousing mobile platform chat. So now it's time for the part of the show that really puts the dents in correspondence. It's viewer comments. Viewer comments. So unsurprisingly, given one of the big topics of the last episode was the Pixel 8 and the Pixel 8 Pro, we've had lots of correspondence on Google's new flagship blowers. Oh, and for everyone who's inquired where my Pixel reviews are, well, as I say, it's been kind of busy times lately, and I wanted to live with them for a while and really give them a solid going over before I finally pass judgment, so to speak. But hoping to get my regular Pixel 8 review live next week. That is, as long as I don't drink so much over the weekend that I don't regain consciousness until Thursday evening. But anyway, let's start with one, you eat one, who says it's good that the Pixel 8 temperature sensor can measure how the iPhone 15 is overheating. I mean, I've had that phone for literally about a month now, and that's the only use I can find for it. You know, I've occasionally measured the temperature of, you know, a cup of coffee or my Greg's ham and cheese baguette, just out of curiosity. And speaking of warmth as well, I've had lots of people asking about the heating situation here on the Pixel 8 and the Pixel 8 Pro. Does the Tensor G3 get a bit toasty like the previous Tensors on the other Pixels? Well, touch wood, so far, both the Pixel 8 and the Pixel 8 Pro have been absolutely fine. Occasionally they can get a tiny bit warm around the sort of camera chassis area, mostly above and below. but certainly nowhere near the levels of previous smartphones, that's for sure, even when you're using the camera quite a bit. And you know what, to be honest, now that the UK is balls deep in autumn, I'm actually kind of missing having a smartphone that also doubles as a hand warmer. Probably have to swap back to the bloody iPhone for winter. KTA Spawn and a bunch of other people as well also asking about the battery life of the Pixel 8 Pro. KTA Spawn specifically asking how long it lasts compared with the 7 and the 6 series. And again, I've got to say, my first month with the Pixel 8 and the Pixel 8 Pro, I've had no issues whatsoever. Certainly, again, not what I was experiencing on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. But here on the regular Pixel 8 with its smaller battery, the only time I've managed to run it completely dry in a day was when I used the camera a lot, including lots of Skype and Zoom and shenanigans. Like take today for instance, I've had the screen on for over 2 hours already, and I've been streaming a bit of Deezer and Audible and stuff in the background, and we're still only down to, what, 86%? And some days it will drain a wee bit faster unexpectedly, but I always make it to bedtime with some juice left in the tank. And anyway, I'm spoiling the f***ing reviews now, I need to shut the hell up. You buggers better still watch that when it goes live next week. And next up, Chester Foster says, 7 years of updates, I hope my relationship lasts that long. Yeah, but quite a lot of people asking me in the comments, why has Google even bothered with 7 years of software support for these things? Because after just 2 or 3 years, let's face it, most smartphones are just held together with sticky tape and prayers. And of course you've got battery degradation and everything as well. And you know, the way I choose to look at it is that yes, your smartphone might collapse well before the 7-year mark is up, but at least if it is still going strong in 5 years or so, you don't have to worry about the software support suddenly shutting off on a perfectly good phone. So, you know, it's just one less worry in a world that's, let's face it, full of fucking worry. Like, I'm at the age now where I worry about absolutely everything. I even worry, like, if I sit on the toilet for too long, am I going to be able to stand up again? Or am I going to immediately collapse to the floor with completely dead legs and just flop around pathetically there like a beached whale until somebody comes along with a shotgun and puts me out of my misery? Anyway, getting back on track, Jordan Ramsey Clement says, what sort of features on the Pixel phones do people find really handy? I mean, there's bloody loads. I've actually done a tips and tricks video all about the Pixel 8 phones if you want to go see some of the best features on there. But personally, for me, one of the best features is the call screening. You know, recently, for some reason, I've had a load of spammy calls from 0191 numbers, which is the Sunderland dial-in codes, and you know, you can just put it straight on the call screen and realise it's a whole bunch of toss, then just say, f*** off. So I do love that, but it would be great to hear from other Pixel users what their favourite features are. Let us know in the comments below. Next up, Mythic Suns says, the multicoloured G animation on the Pixel promos left me hoping they were going to make the G on the back into a multicoloured notifications light. Now that would be pretty bloody special. I do like me an excessive bit of RGB lighting, but sadly it's generally only found on gaming smartphones. Of course, there's always the Nothing phone and the Nothing phone 2, but no RGB action, sadly, bit of a shame. Next up, A Winnower says, now that the Xiaomi 13T is out, is the Xiaomi 13 still relevant to buy or not? And already this comment is horrifically dated. Yeah, but now that the Xiaomi 14 series has launched, well, hopefully the Xiaomi 13s and maybe even the 13Ts will be reduced. Who knows? Keep an eye on that. Jotaro Tokyo says, we need to review the Galaxy S23 FE. Yes, definitely, 100%. And for some reason, the Fan Edition stuff launched with very little fanfare, especially here in the UK. There's been pretty much no chat whatsoever about them. But I am hoping to do you a video on the Galaxy Tab S9 FE next week. And as for the Galaxy S23 FE, well, apparently that's not due in Blighty until December, which might actually be a small mercy considering there's about to be a friggin' eruption of Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 blowers. But I do wonder if there's going to be any smartphones announced at all in the first few months of 2024. It's probably going to be pretty barren because usually all this stuff happens in the new year. You know, finally actually get a proper chance to sleep off my New Year's hangover. Baz Anime says, a good classic manga to add to your list is Intron Depot by Masamune, and anything else by him as well. It's a bit on the racy side, so read it in good lighting. Yes, Mr. Ghost in the Shell himself. I haven't read Intron Depot before, that's for sure, but I'm assuming, given it's this guy, it probably involves several scantily dressed cyber women doing flips and bouncing about the place like their tits were on fire. I'm massively out of time, kiddies, so mate, this is the last comment for the week. Krawi Chomik, sorry if I completely effed up that pronunciation, says, when I'm depressed, I watch TechSpurt and my depression's gone after a few seconds. You should be a doctor. Dr. Spurt. Can you imagine? Sweet baby Jesus, though, that's something that should never be allowed to happen. Yeah, every problem, I would just prescribe a bottle of whiskey and 2.5 minutes on Pornhub. Makes me feel better at least. And I was going to make that the last one, but I've just spied TFM has called me the Jeremy Clarkson of tech. I mean, yeah, I'm a grumpy, aging old twat who likes to have a good old moan despite having everything pretty good, so fair play. Oh, and lots of people, as always, asking me about the geeky anime wallpapers I have, so let me just push the old jingle button. Wall.alphacoders.com, wall.alphacoders.com, that's where my wallpapers come from, wall.alphacoders.com. So a massive thank you to everyone who's commented over the past couple of weeks while I've been buggering about. Much appreciated as always. Please do smash your comments down below and we'll try and get through as many of those as possible next week. And speaking of next week, next week, what the f*** is next week? Well, as previously promised, I'm hoping to bring you my full Google Pixel 8 review next week with an asterisk small print if I don't get paralytically pissed. Lots of backlog to get through as usual, so plenty of videos being spaffed at your face, so don't want to miss any of that. Well, plug subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and make sure you have yourself a lovely, wonderful weekend, Vogan Crowd. I love you!